Boom, we live. What's going on, bro?
Not much, man. How are you? Good morning.
Hey, man, same old, same old. Getting it
Yeah,
started. New year.
very excited about today. I'm
Facts,
very
facts.
excited.
New year, new money.
Yep. Yep. New goals, new missions. I'm excited to be kicking off this podcast, the balance sheet. I know it's something that we've been working on for a little bit. We actually have some great episodes that are recorded already, but that may be a little dated now, where we gave some really good financial outlook for last year during
Yeah,
the pandemic. And if we put it out now, it's kind of be like, dang, they did this afterwards. And
right,
so,
right.
so I'm excited about this journey here, man.
Facts, facts. Yeah, man, equally excited. I think those first ones was good, but we got even better.
Yeah.
That was just the test run, and we really gonna get into it this year. So yeah. Let's you want to start breaking everything down. Well, first, you want to do an introduction of yourself so the people know who you are.
Yeah, for sure. My name is Briggs, Dejan Briggs. Everyone calls me Briggs. I'm a wealth building strategist for the African American community. I introduce my clients to concepts that convert income to assets. We create plans for our clients that minimize the risk of financial loss while increasing cash flow to create clear pathways to ownership and equity that ultimately leads to financial freedom. And so we compose diversified portfolios that contain stocks, real estate, mutual funds, cash, bonds, income protection, and insurance. And so that's me, man. And I'm a hip hop head as well. And so really love finances, love hip hop.
That. Good deal. Well, what's good, everybody? I'm Akeem Jones. I'm a certified public accountant licensed in the state of Virginia. I'm also a certified government financial manager, certified defense financial manager. So I'm a accountant by day. So I always say accounting is the service, personal finance is the passion, right? So I'm the chief financial advisor at the Solutions Group, and we're a financial education company that just focus on giving the financial education and the game and the wealth building strategies to the all the many people that wouldn't receive it otherwise. So that's me. Hooked up with my man Briggs a few years ago, and we really just been hitting it ever since. Hip hop head as well, so we said, what's better than to take hip hop, something that's influenced both of us equally, and then finance is something that we're both passionate about, closing that wealth gap in the Black community. And we said, let's put it all together and do a podcast about it. And we came up with the name, the Balance Sheet Podcast, and I think it fits it very well, man. So we want to try to let's break down what the balance sheet is, why we called it the Balance Sheet Podcast.
Yeah. So we were having a discussion and we were talking about how earlier in Jay's career, right? So Jay Z being, someone who has influenced both of us, I believe, from a financial standpoint.
Yeah,
But we talked about earlier in his career, he talked a lot about the money that he made, right? He talked a lot from the standpoint of the income statement. And so there's three major financial documents, but we really hone in on two. So we have our income statement, our balance sheet, and the cash flow statement.
yeah,
We really kind of hone in on the income statement and the balance sheet. And so earlier in his career, he talked a lot about the income statement, a lot about the money that he made. And as he got later on in his career, he started talking about the assets he accumulated, right? He started talking about moving from the income statement into the balance sheet. And the balance sheet is where wealth is actually contained. The balance sheet is where wealth is actually made. Um, Lauren Hill has a line that I like to kind of augment a little bit. She says, it's not about what you cop, it's about what you keep. And I say it's not about what you make, it's about what you keep, right? So it's
yeah,
not about your income, it's about your in keep. And
yeah,
so looking at the balance sheet, when we talk about wanting to build wealth, we're talking about assets. And so on 444, Jay gives a great analogy of going from income to balance sheet. He says, uh, he says, F paying me, I pay you,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Forget about me being on the income statement, right? I'm
yeah,
not
yeah,
worried about the you paying me anymore. I'm in a position of ownership to where now I pay you. It's
yeah,
a totally different mindset from being, you know, income statement driven to balance sheet driven.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, facts. And just to break that down a little bit more, when you're looking at the income statement, it starts off as income, and then it says minus your expenses gets you what you have for the year. So income minus expenses gives you your revenue. So that revenue has to go somewhere, right? So in businesses, either the revenue goes into dividends that you pay out to your shareholders, or it goes into retained earnings that you keep for yourself, right? Or it goes into equity, right? But when you get to the balance sheet, your balance sheet is assets minus your liabilities, give you your owner's equity. Or I like to say assets minus your liabilities gives you your net worth for people, for personal, right? So what we want to focus on is we want to focus on what everybody looks at, which is the income statement, right? Income minus what you spend equals what you have, right? So we want to focus on where that what you have goes, right? And when you get on the balance sheet, the assets minus liabilities, you take what you have and you make the decision on where it's going to go. Is it going to go on the equity for something that you have? Is it going to go on the savings that you have? Or is it going to go back in the marketplace in the form of consumerism? And that's what we don't want, right? We want you to keep as much money in your pocket as possible, right? So we're not going to focus as much on the income statement. We're going to focus on when you have that money, where does it go on the balance sheet? And we want you to have equity. We want you to have dividends. We want you to have savings, right? We want you to have all those things that are going to be assets for you and your family, for your wealth, because you're not really wealthy unless you're on that balance sheet, unless you have those long-term assets.
Correct. Yeah, I agree. And even saying, breaking it down further, your assets minus your liabilities, right? Assets being what you own,
Yeah.
liabilities being what you owe. So
Yeah.
what I'm saying is, what I own, if I sold everything that I owned, I'd have cash, right? I have cash. I've exchanged what I owned. I sold it. I have cash. I pay off all of my debts.
Yep.
What I have remaining in cash then becomes my net worth. And that's something that could be transferred to the next generation. So your net worth would then create your estate if something should happen to you. And so that's kind of why we wanted to be there as well. Because when we talk about wealth, being rich is like within one generation, right? I'm rich, I made something, I have it for one generation. Being wealthy is I have enough to last multiple generations.
Yeah.
And so that's the idea. And that's how we close the wealth gap, is by giving the next generation a leg up, because we put in the work and we made the wise financial choices. We made the wise decisions to convert that income to assets.
Yeah, no doubt. And we're going to continue to expand on that income statement versus balance sheet concept. That's really going to be what the whole podcast is about, getting on that balance sheet. So we hope you stay tuned with us and allow us to further break down that concept for you. Yeah, so you want to hop into how we kind of tied the hip hop side of this into it?
Yeah. So how has music shaped our financial outlook? So I'll ask you first, how has music shaped your financial outlook?
Yeah. So, man, I think music shaped a lot for me, like not only financially, but also like how I carried myself, how I looked at goals, motivation, ambition. A lot of that stuff came from music. And in the beginning, kind of how you said, a lot of it focused on how much money you can make and then consuming, right? Like, wanting to have the chain. I remember I had the Cash Money chain in like 7th, 8th grade, right? You wanted all the clothes. So it was about making money, but it was about making money to consume, right? And then I think the first song that I can remember, at least the first song that I really thought, oh, maybe there's something different to this. Maybe there's another side to it. Maybe they're like, what's this wealth thing, right? Is Jay-Z, You Don't Know, right? And I'm sure everybody knows 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, 4 in just 5 years, 40 million, 40 million more, right? So that's the first song I was like, oh, so you can turn 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, and then turn it to 40. How you gonna make it grow exponentially like that, right? And then he just comes back and I'm smart enough, open the market up, right? That was one of the first songs that I was like, oh, okay, well maybe it's just not about spending the money. Maybe it's about like making a whole lot of the money and being wealthy and being free. So that album and that song in particular was like one of the first times I was like, okay, all right, maybe it's not just about the chains and the cars and the shoes. Maybe it's about like building something here. So and just on down the road with Nipsey and Killer Mike and just so many different people that have really started to get on this financial literacy wave. So yeah, man, big impact on me, but it really started with those "You Don't Know" lyrics from Jay-Z.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, You Don't Know is actually mine too. Um, uh, Put me anywhere on God Green's earth and I'll triple my worth, right?
Yeah, yeah,
That right there was like, oh man.
yeah,
And as you just stated, talking about the flip at that point, right?
yeah,
Talking about, hey, I got money coming in. What do I do to allow the money to compound upon itself? And that's the beauty of when you get into compound interest, it's really you working less and your money working more. And
yeah,
at some point, we'll talk about the 7 types of income, but we're mostly trained to do earned income, which is the
right,
exchange of our time for money. And
right,
there's 6 other forms of income that do not require our presence. And so when he said that, it's understanding like I am going to grow financially no matter where I am by the decisions that I make. Right. So a part of it is the hustle, a part of it is the grind, a part of it is the work.
yeah,
But then I can't do that by myself. I have to have assistance with my money making money. And so I think that for me, my financial outlook early on was more so shaped, like you said, by the consumerism, right? Where every time I come around, bling bling,
yeah,
right? So we're
thanks.
talking about the flashiness, we're talking about the different stuff. But right when Jay got into that, I would really say the Black album, like You Don't Know is on Blueprint, but right around that Black album time is where I really started. Um, and I mean, I wasn't 30, but he says, I'm 30 plus, give me a fresh pair of jeans, button up, that stop on my feet, make my cipher complete, right? So
Yeah,
the whole idea of growing up. So Jay's lyrics, because he was a little ahead, he was further ahead in age than me, but it started striking a chord with me when he talked about this growing up piece. And I think that's really what also helped to mature me just as an individual, but financially, definitely. Blueprint was definitely one of the things that was like, okay, you know,
yeah,
um, I really am rocking with this. Um, I'm raping Def Jam till I'm the 100 million man, right? So that
yeah,
he even kept going, right?
yeah.
Yeah, so I love it. I love it.
Yeah, yeah, and even on that maturity side, he said can make 40 off a brick, but one rhyme could beat that,
Yeah,
right? That's
yeah,
like I'll always say, like, what's the ROI on a pie of that brick, right? That's
but
that's that's a pretty risky investment if you balance out the risk. Like you're gonna risk going to jail to make the same amount of money that you can make by doing something legal. So that really changed my mindset too. Like growing up listening to dope and guns and drugs and we gonna do all this and we gonna do whatever we got to do to get this money, right? And then Jay said can make 40 off a brick, but one rhyme could beat that. Like I'm not just a rapper. Like I'm
right,
not a drug dealer. I'm a hustler. What you
right,
call that, right?
right.
So yeah, man, just so many opportunities to break down these lyrics and I know we don't have them for days. So I'm definitely excited about this,
Yeah,
man.
I'm not a businessman. I'm a business man,
Facts.
right? And
Right.
so that's very true. And part of the reason that I kind of got into this as well, and I know we'll move on to the next topic. Um, Part of the reason I got into this as well is like you just said, that risk factor.
Yeah.
And it's so appropriate that you said this because less than a week ago I was talking to someone who was still kind of in the game in the street a little bit, and they were saying, well, I make a little more than you. And I was saying, nah, you don't. Because
Right.
when we take into the fact that I'm gonna be able to go home and go to sleep at night, you know what I mean? I made what I made, and I'm gonna be able to go home. I'm gonna be able to go to sleep at night. I don't have to worry about my safety. I don't have to worry about looking over my shoulder. Like, nah, you might have more cash, but the risk to reward ratio is nowhere in comparison to
Facts.
that. So yeah, and hopefully we get a larger viewership and we can drop a lot of gems that helps people to from a legal standpoint, learn how to make that money grow without extra risk.
Facts. Smarten up. Open the market up.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. And
Facts.
so, well, I guess we'll wrap up with this here. This is, I mean, it's almost a given. So we got to kind of dig deep. All right.
Right.
But if you had one hip hop artist that you would want to be your financial advisor, who would it be?
Yeah, I think the no-brainer answer is Jay,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna go with Killer Mike. I think just with the climate that we're in now, and the things that he's doing, like on a social justice side as well as a financial side, I think it'd be dope to run the A with Killer Mike. Figure out the things that he's doing. I know he's putting together a bank and all this stuff. So I think he's pretty chill. He's out here doing the interviews and in the media and in the culture and all that stuff. So I'd say Killer Mike right now, just because of what he's doing on the social justice side as well. How about you?
Okay. Yeah. So clearly Jay, right? But my second, and I know he's passed away or he was murdered, but my second is Nip.
Yeah.
Nipsey, when I look at Bitcoin right now, and if you go back a few years ago, Nipsey was already saying, and I think we may have had a discussion when Bitcoin was like at 3,000. And I was kind of like, it makes a little sense right now to do Bitcoin at 3,000 because the high was at 20. Right
Yeah.
now it's at 3. So you got like a 5-to-1 kind of ratio that it could go as high as 20.
Yep.
The lowest it could go is 3. So those are good odds to take. But
Yeah.
even prior to this, Nipsey was already talking about Bitcoin. He was talking about cryptocurrency. A lot of the stuff he was going to be doing was going to be done through cryptocurrency. And so for him to have, what was it, 2019, right, that Nipsey got killed? So 2019, 2 years later, and to see the things that he was already saying, Bitcoin hitting new highs and things of that nature. I think Nipsey would be mine.
Yeah.
And his understanding of business. Nipsey really was one of the first people who I heard utilize the term vertical integration when it comes to business, like owning the whole pipeline of production to from manufacturing to production to distribution. And so yeah, Nipsey would be mine.
Yeah, man. We've had plenty of conversations about Nip and just the tragedy of that, but even before, just appreciating like the hustle. And for me, is with Nip is it's a lot of branding, like the marathon company. That's some heavy branding right there for me. And I remember when Nip was coming out with his financial stuff, I was like, dang, I gotta step my visuals up and all that stuff. Like I gotta make it, and then making it for the culture, right? I think and that's really what we're trying to do here, is create something that's truly for the culture, right? Create something that people can relate to, create something that people understand. And I think the more people that do that, and Jay, Killer Mike, Nip, definitely have been doing that. And that's one of the reasons why we're here, right? So just paying homage and understanding that, this thing called hip hop can definitely bring us closer to economic freedom and security, and just closing this wealth gap and giving more opportunities to Africans here in America.
Yeah, I agree, man. It's gonna be an exciting journey. It's gonna be an exciting journey. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to topics that we'll cover, and the tips and the nuggets that we'll give. And I'm looking forward to hearing people's feedback. Right, that's what may have made this so difficult to do in the beginning. Was like, man, are people even going to care about what we're saying? And so giving your feedback will be a great encouragement to continue. I know we're going to give a lot of great information, but I want to make sure that the information is impactful to the audience to which we intend it to be.
Facts.
Yeah, man.
All right, bro. Well, I think that's probably a wrap for episode 1. Just a short one, intro one. Hope you got a couple tips from this joint, but we're gonna be coming back. We got a lot of topics lined up. So we definitely gonna get into it. I'm looking forward to it, bro.
Yeah, me too. I appreciate you, man. You have a great day. I'll holla at you next week when we get this going.
Hey, sounds good, bro. Take it easy,
All right.
man.
Have a good one.
You too. Peace.
Bye-bye.